amazing musical. I mean, people don't know this about me, but I'm a big Broadway fan. Like, I grew up on musicals, and I love musicals. It's maybe not like the most popular thing, you know, if you're like a rock star, pop star musical, but I grew up on classical, on pretty much everything. Yeah. And so to finally get the opportunity, now I don't have any singing roles, funnily enough, or dancing roles, thank God, because guys, I mean, like, I'm not like your
You're
best,
like me,
you know.
2 left feet, yeah.
See, I was chosen from Zungu, right? So we're not expected to dance. But, I mean, the content of Sarafina itself and the material that you're dealing with. And I mean, we had some really good times backstage, you know, and in rehearsals, we're rehearsing 3-4 times a week. So we're having a fun time, and it's all like, but I mean, there's some difficult moments. For example, I play the bad guy. We join 2 parts. So I'm the lieutenant, and I'm also the guy who tortures Mkamze or Mistress and Sarafina. Yeah. And I have to cuss badly, okay? Several times as I'm torturing and interrogating, yeah? And that's, I mean, my daughter was with me at rehearsal, you know, and I'm like, you know, Leah, I mean, she's like 14, 15 now. Right. And I've got a cuss, and I'm very uncomfortable, and suddenly I pick up my phone, and Brenda Wairimu has tweeted, Gilad's having a hard time cussing at rehearsal, and it's hysterical. You know, I mean, so it's a great atmosphere, but on the other hand, I've really got to come out of my comfort zone to play this really terrible man who hates black people. Yeah. Who just hates black people because that's how he's been brought up. And so, I mean, the whole mentality and everything you're going through with Sarafina is very interesting, very, you know, walking a day. I have to say, the worst part in the show for me and for everybody around is, and it'll shock people, I mean, there's a part where I call, in the interrogation, I call the teacher, mistress, I call her a monkey. Now, I am a white man living in Africa. Yeah. So, I mean, so you ask yourself, how can you do something like that? So everybody says, okay, it's theater, it's in the script. When I was in Israel, a relative of mine, I told him I'm doing this, and it's very tough for me to play this role. And he says, you know, I once was in theater, and I had to play a Nazi officer in theater. And he's Jewish. Wow. He says, if I could do that, then you can do this. And, you know, it's theater, so you can do that. You can play the opposite of you and play the role that needs to be played, but it's a fascinating new... You know, I mean, I'm in a new zone now.
Can't wait for it. When is it premiering? July?
12th of July, and it'll run for a few days, from 12th until the 20th. And it'll be, I think there's 10 total shows, but you can book your tickets now, and I suggest you do because there's like a big buzz around the show, and guys are buying, and it's, I mean, it really is going to be a big happening. You know, celebrity-studded Sarafina production with, I mean, an amazing director and an amazing cast, music. And
30 years after it first played, I guess, first ran in New York.
I saw the movie with Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, that was much later. Yeah. That was a lot later. I first saw it in 88, like I said, and it was incredible because, like you said, Mandela was still in prison. Apartheid was still, you know, fully ingrained. And a lot of people didn't think that 2 years later, Mandela would be released from jail. And then 4 years later, they would have their first multi-party election.
Yeah, I mean, there's a song, Free Nelson Mandela.
Freedom,
you know, bring him to Soweto. Freedom is coming tomorrow. Right.
Yeah, that's
so, I mean, all of the messages of this, you know, when Mandela was still in jail, and the whole time Sarafina is talking to Mandela. She has monologues where she speaks to him.
Yes.
So, I mean, really, the time that we're talking about is a time that, I mean, today, you almost can't imagine that it would be like that, and yet it wasn't so long ago.
Incredible. 30 years later. Is it still relevant? Would it still be relevant? Would people relate to that?
Unfortunately, it somehow still is. I mean, racism is racism, and it exists at different levels, okay? I mean, here, I live as a minority, okay, here. And I stand out physically, and I know what it... I mean, between us, as much as we joke around and people say, oh, Gilad, you're so Kenyan, and, you know, I've been here long, so I've adopted a lot of humorisms and stuff. But at the end of the day, as much as I've come close, maybe more than most, most Kenyans are still forever going to ever just see this color of my skin and not be able to get past that. And that's a sad reality. I have the song Salama that says, you know, black and white inside.
You actually have it queued up.
There you go. See?
Queued up.
So I believe in that. But at the end of the day, most of us just really judge each other by what we see in the eyes. So if here I'm the minority white, then clearly being a black person in America or in other places where racism still is alive and very much kicking, then of course Sarafina is relevant.
I mean, look, I don't know if you're a fan of the World Cup.
Yeah, of course.
The other day, Croatia was playing Nigeria. And they called up one of the subs from the Croatian team, to come on in the 60th or 70th minute. He refused to come on because there were a whole bunch of black people on the field.
Really?
Substitute for the Croatian national team.
I missed that.
And the managers just sent him home right away.
Isn't that kind of, I mean
2018.
Maybe he just didn't want to get his ass kicked. You know? I mean, can you say that on?
Yeah, it's okay. That's fine. That's fine. No, absolutely. You're so right. I mean, it still exists.
I mean, think that is so ridiculous because I mean, today in sports, honestly, I mean, look who's running NBA today. I mean, if you're white and you get a place on the field, that's it's a lucky break.
It's an honor.
And I mean, but really today, like I said, living here from this angle, from my point of view, here in how you wrote your book through my African eyes. So here it's through my Israeli eyes, living in Africa, and at so many levels. A lot of times when I meet people, I've got to get through certain levels of conversation to be able to say, okay, just talk to me as a person, because they can't get past Mzungu.
Wow.
Many people can't get past Mzungu. That's okay, though. I mean, it's part of life, and I have a lot of African friends who, like when I was in Israel, so I'm featured. Wendy Kimani and I are about to be featured in a song by a Cote d'Ivoirian artist who lives in Israel. It's a really cool connection. We met in Israel, all of us, and so it's Swahili and a French song.
Wow.
But he's obviously black, living in Israel. And Israel isn't the most tolerant country at all, to be honest. In that sense, we also see Israelis see color as much as anybody else. So, I mean, suddenly I got to see it from that point of view in Israel, and it wasn't any easier for him than it was, is for me here. Yeah,
absolutely. Salama. Love it, man.
Salama.
I didn't know you were so talented. Now there's a new talent for Gilad. I mean, Jesus Christ. Is there anything you cannot do?
I don't know. I can't play basketball really well. I'm like, as you get older and you start acknowledging the things you're not going to, I'm not going to win an Olympic medal. I get that. Unless they do for chess, maybe I could get lucky.